I truly don't care about birds, but birds are the main reason why this whole shebang migrated from chemistry to biology. The way that I like to call it, they have the hardware to sense the field. And in fact, all our cells also have the hardware to sense magnetic fields.
Welcome to Entangled Health, where quantum tech, AI, health, biology, and consciousness research overlap. I'm Thomas Ehmer, and I like to have the conversations that never quite fit into conference or reports. When I sit down with somebody, I usually carry one question and let that be the starting point. From there, we follow whatever actually matters to the person in the room. My guest today is Clarice D'Aiello, Chief Scientific Officer of the Quantum Bio Institute. Clarice is at the forefront of exploring how quantum effects like electron spin and weak magnetic fields shape the behavior of living cells. Her research is opening new doors in understanding everything from cell navigation to potential therapies for neurological disorders and chronic pain. In this episode, we will talk about how quantum physics is transforming our view of biology, what it means for the future of medicine, and why the boundaries between physics, biology, and health are more entangled than ever. We will also dive into the technical challenges of studying quantum effects in living systems, the real-world impact of this research, and her vision for the next decade of quantum health and innovation, and much more. Yeah, Clarice. I think sometimes we should do a video recording of that because I think the guests are.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's the best intro to a podcast that I've ever seen. I've had so much fun. Thank you for that.
Thanks. So thanks for being on the podcast. So I think let me just start the reframing. The podcast is the objective is bringing together people from all kind of backgrounds, education, purpose, whatever, who should know each other. And I think who share their passion and word to inspire each other. Yeah, and this is, I think, the best way if we start with an introduction where we start. So start from the beginning. How come we are here? How come we are here today? So what made you what you are? But before we do that.
Yes.
I think it would be cool if you could just share the first impression when you heard Entangled Health. So what came to your mind? Because I think that's always helpful to...
I found that a very cool initiative, right? So I work in an interdisciplinary field called quantum biology. And one of the big problems that we have is that we found out that people from different fields don't talk to each other, right? So I think that your solution to this problem is laudable, and I think that we should have more of this type of dialogue where people from bio talks to people from AI, talks to people from physics, talks to people from chemistry, right? And I think because I think that the nicest problems, the ones which are not incremental, are probably interdisciplinary, and interdisciplinarity is a buzzword. Everyone likes to say that they do interdisciplinary science. People like to say that they fund interdisciplinary science.
Yeah, we talk about this later, I guess.
Right? And it's like a big lie. I mean, it's a big lie. Yeah. While students are still separated in departments, while departments are still departments, while in funding bodies, there are still funding bodies for chemistry, bio, and stuff. It's not going to happen. I mean, it's intrinsic to our system. We need a rehauling, and that's part of what we're trying to do in my current organization.
And I think we have, that's a point. I see your energy, so I think we definitely will talk about this. But let's start from the beginning. So I mean, can you just share how came that you are where you currently are? I know of when you still were at the UCLA, but maybe something that was even before that made you what you are.
I don't actually remember how we met. Do you remember how we met?
I reached out on LinkedIn because I saw you doing quantum bio. And I mean, I was always doing. I mean, I was doing physics in biophysics and always interested in cognition. And then, as a physicist and cognition, we are quickly into areas that might we have different opinions on these, but we agree that they are interesting. No, and then I think we were looking into novel technologies, definitely quantum in biology, so explaining, I don't know, bird navigation, what have you. I think there was even a paper you
and much more. Much more.
Yeah, but go ahead. First.
So, first of all, this accent that you're hearing, I was born and raised in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
I got a scholarship to do university in France, where I studied physics. Then I did 1 year of a master in the UK, and then I came to the US to do my PhD.
Mm-hmm.
In my PhD, I worked with technological quantum sensors. Mm-hmm. The idea is that you can mathematically prove that if you use quantum objects like an electron as a sensor, your measurement is improved. In other words, the sensor quantumness enhances the measurement. Mm-hmm. I work with a very famous technological quantum sensor, which is a spin in diamond, in the material diamond. Mm-hmm. And a couple cool things about the sensor is that, one, it's a very good sensor of magnetic fields. Two, it works at room temperature. Mm-hmm. Its quantumness survives for long enough at room temperature to be useful. Mm-hmm. And three, the fundamental quantum property that the sensor uses to sense in a quantum enhanced way magnetic fields is superposition, electron spin superpositions. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, that was my PhD, and after I didn't have a particularly good experience in my PhD. After my PhD, I spent 1 year teaching as a lecturer in the department where I got my PhD from. Mm-hmm. And after that, I took a postdoc position in chemistry. Oh. And I was immersed in a chemistry department. I was doing something that it's not important here, but to cut a long story short, it was almost by chance. I was looking for chemical compounds that could replace a compound that I was using in one of my experiments, that I came across a molecule that has been known by chemists for decades. Well, maybe not by decades, by decades, called Cryptochrome. Now, Cryptochrome is a very cool molecule historically, because it's a molecule that apparently can sense magnetic fields. Mm-hmm. And I started reading more about this molecule. I started reading more about how chemical compounds sensed magnetic fields. Mm-hmm. And I found out that for decades, many decades, there is a review of that from 1989. Mm-hmm. Chemists have been aware of quantum sensing-like things happening in compounds, in proteins. Mm-hmm. Chemists do not call it like this, but there are electrons inside proteins that sense magnetic fields very much like the electron in diamond senses magnetic fields. And it's all mediated, again, via superposition. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, again, I came across Cryptochrome by pure chance. Cryptochrome is not the only molecule that does this at all. This type of chemical reactions are known to happen in the solid phase, in the liquid phase, and in the gas phase. Again, there's a review from 1989, except that historically, Cryptochrome is one of the most studied magnetosensitive compounds because of birds. Now, explain how this was so. And then in 1978, I think, a crazy, brave theoretical biophysicist came and put forth a crazy and unusual proposal. He was like, well, maybe if inside the bird there was this type of magnetic field sensing protein doing its quantum things, maybe birds react to magnetic fields to the extent that the quantum protein is actually reacting to magnetic fields.
So a sixth or seventh or however sense in principle. So they sense the field somehow?
Sure, they have the way that I like to call it. They have the hardware to sense the field, and in fact, all our cells also have the hardware to sense magnetic fields. Again, zero, nothing special about birds. In fact, magnetic field effects have been shown to be present across the tree of life, across many types of cells, including many different human cells. And evidence for that exists at two very distinct length scales. For decades, there is no doubt that proteins and biocompounds in solution can sense magnetic fields because of a quantum effect. They do what's expected of them should this quantum effect be active. However, this next level of evidence comes from organisms and plates of cells that respond to magnetic fields in a way that is consistent with what would be expected should the quantumness in those proteins in solution actually survive at room temperature. And as many of the people who hear your podcast might know, everything that starts quantum dies classical. This is the reason why quantum computing people do things in a vacuum at very, very low temperatures. And that's why people are usually skeptical that biology might be able to sustain any quantum effect at all. And importantly, a quantum effect that has a macroscopic relevance, such as helping a bird to navigate, or, as I'm going to claim, do other things, for example, improve your health.
Yeah, and I think this is really one of the controversials, in depending on which colleague you talk, either biologists who are relatively open to this, or physicists who say no, quantum effect is vacuum and it has to be 0 Kelvin, etc., and then everything distorts. And I think that's really the cool thing, that we both are, at least in my world, both are opening up to each other. Maybe in other worlds they don't, but and this is really very interesting. And I think that's exactly the point where we see what I learned from you, that it's helpful to use these two differentiations. So there's quantum for bio, and then quantum in bio.
Yes.
And I think I think we need quantum for bio to detect quantum in bio, but
that is true. I agree that we need quantum technologies, and I'm also set up to either prove or refute that quantum in bio can be explored for you to deterministically drive biology.
Yes, and right? I think this is why you did found the quantum bio industry.
Quantum Biology Institute, yes.
Yes. So tell the listeners what are the key challenges except funding.
Okay, I used to be an academic, and things were slow, and I found another way to do science, and I'm very happy about that. It was a little bit of a challenge to find money, but we got some fundraise to open up this non-profit institute that does science, if you will, in an open science way. We don't want to close the science that we do. We're spending some time putting in the internet all the things that we do. This will come in a better way soon. And I think that this will help not only with publicizing our research, but publicizing like quantum biology. So quantum biology has been around so in 1947, I think Schrödinger.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So again, parentheses. Schrödinger was a bad person. When I used to teach my students about Schrödinger's equation, I used to call it like
you stopped. Then the last 20 years you just stopped, or the period.
Yeah, evolution equation. So Schrödinger was a bad person, but he did write a very cool book called What's Life, which is in the public domain. And he was the first one to sort of hint that maybe classical physics was not only classical physics, but
yeah.
statistical mechanics was maybe not enough to explain biology. And I completely agree. Schrödinger wouldn't have put it this way, but I reframe all, and I'm going to tell more about that. I reframe everything in terms of time scales, because as I said, everything that starts quantum dies classical. The fundamental question is, there's no doubt that picosecond quantum stuff happens in cells, but can things in cell live as quantum objects for a little bit longer so that they matter? For example,
Does the Xeno effect then play a role, or is this independent from it?
I believe it's independent of it, or if there is a connection, I don't see.
Sorry for this, it just came to my mind.
No. Yeah. Let me give you an example, which is the same example that we use for spins in diamond, for those technological quantum sensors. So the longer the superposition lives before coming back to classicality in the sensor in diamond, the smaller the magnetic field that you can sense. Okay? So for you to sense a magnetic field on the order of the Earth, I have a problem with coherence time. I think we need to find a better.
Yes, I know. That's why I told
time or something. Yes, thank you.
Tell your word.
Yes, he says that. I'm excused. So for the listeners who are not familiar with this terminology, it's the average time that things take to go back to classicality for the coherence time. So for spin superpositions to be able to sense the magnetic field of the Earth, the quantumness time needs to be about 700 nanoseconds. Okay?
That's not much.
That's not much, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly my point. It's not much. And even more, if you want to sense a magnetic field like your phone, which is just a couple of millitesla, the coherence times, the quantumness times need only to be 50 nanoseconds. So it's not a long time, but it's more than picoseconds, than femtoseconds, right? But it's just a small effect that happens at a crossroads that is going to determine everything downstream. So that's the thing about quantum bio. It's an effect that lasts for relatively fast and at relatively small length scales. It's just at like very localized in a molecule, very localized.
It's a bifurcation then in principle? So
yes, that's all that is. The superposition is going to basically influence whether a certain chemical reaction goes through one pathway or the other. And these pathways are going to determine macroscopic, non-quantum effect. And there's, exactly. Right? So it's a scale shift effect. The quantumness is fast, relatively fast. The quantumness is small, but it has a scale shifting effect because it affects things at much larger length scales and much longer time scales.
And now we talk about nano or whatever. So the Earth magnetic field, so it's not super strong, but it's still here. Now, I thought I recall you did these experiment with the frog eggs, or where you were shielding against magnetic field and investigating things. So this brings me to the challenges. I mean, these are you work with, on the one hand, living things that are super messy. I mean, life is different than we sometimes think it is, and on the other hand, everything is individual.
Yes,
and you have, on the other hand, even then, very weak signals that you need to shield and differentiate two weak signals from each other. So how are you doing this?
So first of all, again, back to those two length scales. So data that organisms have been responding to weak magnetic fields, like the ones that take the magnetic field of the Earth out, that has been around for decades. For decades, many decades. And in fact, there is a book curated by a Russian scientist in 1964, where she makes the point that we should care about magnetic fields in space because in space you're not. So it's not new.
Yeah, so we can maybe link. So we can maybe later when we publish the episode, just link the comment to the book. I think that might be cool for people to.
I can definitely go to. And again, this has been around for a long time, and I'll also put like a long list of compiled magnetic field effects that I have, like 25 pages of this. The problem of all those experiments is that they have usually been done in a small number of organisms. People, they are not super well controlled, or there is no information. This is why we did what we call the Tadpole Experiment, which turns out is the largest study with tadpoles that we could find. I think that the largest studies ever with tadpoles, because tadpoles like Xenopus are a model species that we just chose because it was easy to deal with, and we never saw such a large sample. We observed almost 3,000 tadpoles, and half of them we controlled for a lot of stuff, and we published a paper in the archive, which is like 250 pages long with all our data. It's a nice
book, the archive book.
It's a nice book, but it's for a reason, right? Because another data. This is the number that I counted in October. In October, I had given 130 something. Well, it doesn't matter. In 69% of all the talks I gave, because I keep tabs, there was someone at the end of my talk who raised their hands and said, "This is bullshit. People are measuring artifacts, or the sample size is too small." So we wanted to make
the sample size big enough.
The sample size and the experiment controlled. We control for like evaporation in the place where the tadpoles. It doesn't really matter. We think we did the best that we could, and in this very long paper, we showed that there's at least 3 statistically significant different ways to show that tadpoles, when you remove the magnetic field of the Earth, which is orders of magnitude smaller than the magnetic field of your cell phone, the tadpoles, they develop faster. Now,
when you remove the field, they go faster. So this means if you go to space, you get cancer or something like that. I mean,
we don't know. We don't know. I'm very curious, but this needs to be studied. And again, I've been trying to call the attention of people in the go to Mars industry, right? Yes. Because we need to know, faster or slower.
And tell me, so is this a purely magnetic thing? Because there's this other thing when you do electromagnetics, or you take the electrocurrent, which means you have a static electric field which has ultra weak magnetic, if not zero magnetic. So this is supposed to help wound healing, for example. So do you think this is somehow related, or any idea?
Yes. Yes, let me explain why. First of all, our hypothesis has to do with, spins in superposition reacting to magnetic fields for reasons that are too complicated to explain, but they are absolutely well understood in physics. This type of effect only happens for relatively low magnetic fields. First of all, this is different from what you get when you do magnetic resonance imaging in hospitals, or magnetic resonance experiments where you have big
mega Tesla, at least one Tesla or 2 or 5, 9 Teslas.
Exactly. For reasons that are well understood, this effect is only able to mess up with which pathway the reaction takes at relatively small magnetic fields, at up to say tens of millitesla, which means like tens of your phone's magnetic field strength at most, right? First of all, this is super cool because it means that to mess up with bio, you don't need magnetic field.
Big fields,
and this means also that this translates to technology, because your cell phone already has the technology to to produce those fields.
See, I always wanted to have this, like in Star Trek, this app.
Exactly. This is totally science fiction, but I would love to have an app in your cell phone that you go. It should work. That you go there and say, "Today I need help with wound healing," and then you press a button, and your phone produces the exact magnetic field strength, frequency, and direction that you need. And to end the answer to your question, this model that we think that definitely underlies how proteins react to magnetic fields, and that we think survives inside cells for long enough to mess up with bio. This model predicts a response to magnetic field strength, frequency. It's also valid at DC fields, no frequencies, constant magnetic fields. And for proteins that are hooked up to membranes, magnetic field direction.
Okay, and this is now, as you just, unfortunately listeners won't see it, but you just moved your hand. Okay. I was just thinking, and you mentioned frequency, so there is other, I mean, there are different directions, but let's go with one. There is evidence that mechanic vibrations in order of, I mean, we have the stretch activated channels, and there is some quite interesting evidence that apparently 40 hertz is playing a key role in everything. So
I've seen that
many things. Then there is other people like Anja Bahn, who is investigating the next scale of kilohertz and then even megahertz and gigahertz mechanical vibrations. Do you think this is somehow related? Because I always struggle to find a relation between magnetic and mechanic. So I'm just asking.
40 hertz, I've seen it. I've seen good enough publications about that. 40 hertz, I think it's too slow to be explainable by a spin model. This said, kilohertz, megahertz, and even gigahertz, I think are fast enough. Are fast enough to play a role in this spin physics, because all that you're expecting in those for our model to be correct is that the magnetic fields, they mess up with the spin precession of the electrons, with how the electron spin changes. And I can see changes being made at the kilohertz level, at the megahertz, and at the gigahertz. Right. And another thing that is cool, I have two more things to say. First is, another thing that is cool about what we're doing that I didn't have time to say is that in this model, and that's extremely important, if we can tune something up, by definition, we should be able to tune it down. So if with a weak magnetic field, we can tune the aging of the thread poles up, with another magnetic field, we really need to be able to tune the aging down. Exactly, because it's like a lever that if it goes up, it needs to come down. So I find this quite cool, because it's not that it's a one-way stuff. Like the more you take the magnetic field, the more something happens. There is really, for reasons that are well understood chemically, it sort of goes up and down.
Okay, so you have the regulation and the anti-regular or whatever. So these agonist-antagonist things, and then you could just trigger the one or the other. And
it's all the same phenomenon. It's not like competition.
It's competition. It's switching the pathway. Yeah, cool.
And the second thing that I wanted to mention is that, like, we have those two length scales, chemical length scales. There's no doubt that proteins are quantum, and there's this correlative length scales, which are tadpoles and all types of cells. They respond to magnetic fields in a way consistent with this quantumness. But this is not enough, and this is where our current work focuses in. We want to bridge those length scales, and for that, what we want to see, I think that the missing piece that has prevented quantum bio from really going into the mainstream is the irrefutable proof or irrefutable refusal refutal that actually electron spin superpositions can survive for long enough inside the living cell at room temperature for them to matter.
So again, this is where you people can fund you.
Yes, people can fund me. Yes, yes. No, seriously, it's really like a time scale issue, right? Yeah. Because if you look at bird cells, again, there's nothing special about bird cells. In our cells, there's like also cryptochrome and other molecules. If we go to a cell and find that the superpositions don't survive for long enough for them to sense an extremely tiny, like a modest magnetic field, there is no way that birds are flying because are navigating because of that, right? Yeah. And then you need another explanation, right? I'm perfectly happy with changing the name of my institute from Quantum Biology Institute to like Magnetosensitivity Institute, but we need another answer that is currently not available. So we need to test this hypothesis with quantum tools that allow you to probe the time scales. And it turns out that the machine to probe those time scales are indistinguishable from the machines that could probe the time scales in the electron spins in diamond.
So you mean just you work NV centers, or so that
we don't involve NV centers at all. Okay. It's just what's used to excite and probe NV centers.
Okay.
So this is what it is. It's like a microscope. We also use microscopes for NV centers, but in NV centers, you don't need to make the cells happy. Here we do. A microscope that is synchronized down to the nanosecond, because that's the time scales of interest in the spin physics, that can read out single photons, because for reasons that I won't explain, you can probe the state of the spins via fluorescence intensity. This is called, for the pros, optically detected magnetic resonance. This means that just by looking at how strongly the spins are emitting light, you can actually infer the spin state. You can do a quantum state measurement, a true quantum state measurement that any physicist would accept. And finally, you need coils. So those four ingredients are what you need to play with.
Magnetic field for the coil, magnetic field for Tesla or nanotesla or
no.
Controllable?
Controllable magnetic fields, right? On the order from if you put a hypomagnetic chamber around, you reduce from the magnetic field of the Earth. But going on the other side, you need a few millitesla.
Okay.
Again, you don't need a lot at all, and going more doesn't help.
Okay. Yeah, and I think this is one of the signals I when you are in these, let's say, biofield therapies. Maybe we'll talk later a bit on potential impact of these findings on potential pathways for healing medicine. And they always call this subtle energies because of the weak either very low frequencies or very high frequencies, or something which is out of our typical time scale, and also very, very low intensity. Yeah.
I completely understand. So at this point, I've talked to a lot of people doing those things. I think there are some devices that do stuff. For example, I've seen images of like really wound healing helped by like weak magnetic fields, and usually those people they don't fully understand the mechanism, right? I think that when you use AC fields, it's harder to tell apart the effect because there is an associated electric field, right? So this is why we are preferring to start with a static magnetic field, so that we can tell people that it's the magnetic field, not the electric field. But I do believe that even some reports from academia that talk about the influence of electric fields, AC electric fields, I think that part of the effects might be due to magnetic fields, actually. Right? So I do think that at least some of those devices around, they do end up tapping into this quantum, and that's the sort of the problem. It's like people have been investigating this for a super long time. And when people find a field, there's no rationale behind it. So I like to call it like it's a haystack. You grab a little bit of hay and you find a needle. So there needs to be a better way. And this is what our instruments are going to help us find. They're going to help us find the code book on how to do this rationally, so that it's not just, I tested this, and this is the result.
Yeah, and in principle, you could then even just complement any chemical catalog with the properties and say, this is the resonance magnetic field.
I totally think so. I think you were the first one to bring about this idea that there should be that. I clearly remember this because I found such a good idea that in the future, maybe there would be like something in the end of the chemical sheet saying responds to magnetic fields at this and this, because magnetic fields, people are underestimating magnetic fields. There's tons of things that electronic and atomic nuclear fields that respond to magnetic fields. So the small magnetic fields is usually more for electrons. For the nuclear spins, you probably need a much larger magnetic field.
I mean, it's a smaller scale. This is so cool. So I think another topic. Let's just switch to quote John Cleese now to something completely different. You're a very ethical person. At least that's what I think. I mean, I high values and sense of purpose and stuff like this. I mean, we're in this for the good, for the better, for the good of the world.
Thank you.
And I think it's always important to have purpose, and I see that it's important to share how purpose is helping us daring to do things which others maybe would not, because they just don't dare. Can you tell 2 or 3 sentences on?
Yes. First of all, I thank you for your compliment. I want to put an asterisk to this compliment.
Okay, dude.
Right? I totally withstand more risk than most, but this comes at a price. For example, I do not have kids. If I had kids, I would not have left academia to do something completely different. You never know. True. But I think that it all comes. I mean, for example, even the fact that I ended up in high school, if I needed, because I had the means to support myself.
Yes.
High school. If I needed to support my family, I wouldn't have been able to take a job going to grad school, right? So so I thank you for that, for the compliments, and I have been blessed by a lot of things, and like by life circumstances that allowed me, for example, to go to high school, and I do things because I don't have like other things that could
other issues.
No. I mean, it's a choice, right? It's all a choice, and those were the choices that I made. I do think that it's very scary to do new things, and I think that if not now, when? Because I tend to always find excuses to keep on going, right? So like, I didn't have tenure at the university, so am I going to start speaking up only when I have tenure and stuff? And I started being bothered by that and by other things. So I'm like, is there something better that we can do, right? And again, it comes with costs too. I have more autonomy now, and now I'm not affiliated with the university. I lost my floor. I mean, I'm the same person talking about the same things, and people maybe listen to me more because the Quantum Biology Institute is a nothing burger. Well, we were creating it in a very cool way, and again, I'm going to say that we're because we are on a different funding structure, we are also very fortunate to be able to explore other models. We're exploring, as I mentioned, putting all of our science online, right? And I know that people who are in certain institutions cannot put everything online because
even not in companies.
In companies, right? So we are experimenting because we can, because our mission is one of our values is to be transparent. Our mission is to start the field, like to bring the field to the mainstream.
Yeah.
So I'll hope that it will pay. It might not pay, but for me, and for me, I don't know if your listeners will agree or not, but for me, having this sense of the purpose aligning with what I want is something that is very physical. I start not getting okay physically if things don't align. So for me, it's always been very clear to me, when I'm doing something that I maybe shouldn't. I don't know.
This is really something that's coming. Getting beyond the age of 50, I think it's getting. But this is really something where I noticed also in the past, when you go with the flow or just, I don't know, work, do you live to your highest excitement, things fall into places, some synchronicity or however you might want to call it, and there is a lot of, and then as long as it flows, there is absolutely no energy drain. At least it feels like this. So you work hours. And I think I had the idea for this podcast 6 weeks ago or something like this, and now look where we are. So it's I work a lot of nights, but that's it. But that said, I think I'm also in a third part of my life. I'm a mentor to the German Physics Society, and I see you also in you hosting these Thursday meetings where I always hope to attend but never manage. So and there are a lot of students, and I think you do a lot of good work in acting as a mentor. If your younger self would ask you in your today's mentor role, any, I mean, it's always a stupid question, but
I would say that when things go against you, most times it's not personal. When you don't get that scholarship, when your paper is rejected, when whatever, a lot of times you should always, of course, do what you can the best, but there are many things that are outside your control and outside your knowledge, and a lot of this I only learned because I became faculty, and then I for example, I understood how graduate admissions worked, right? Yes. And many times it's like one dude calling the other dude, and the position is filled.
Yes.
Right. I mean, and other things like this, like being a reviewer for NSF, like who gets the grant.
Yeah.
There are so many things like this that I didn't have. I maybe I was naive. So to my younger self, I would say there's so much that is that is not under your control. Do what you can. And don't take things personally. And the second advice, which goes to every younger person or not so young person, I would advise my younger self and anyone listening to learn quantum mechanics. I am a big.
You hear me clapping, so I will have some applause in the background now.
No. I'm a huge quantum mechanics, quantum physics advocate, literacy advocate, because you literally already live in a quantum world, right? You don't need to talk about quantum computers. You don't need to talk about quantum biology. Your classical computer only works because of quantum physics. Yeah, laser pointers, magnetic resonance imagers, right? And it's so important. And I wish that, you know how, when I was growing up, the only people who learned how to code were people who went to engineering or physics school. Right now, there's middle school people coding and doing stuff. I hope the same one day will be true for quantum physics. That people will have access to quantum physics in middle school, in high school. So maybe that's not only an advice, but my wish for the future, that everyone learned quantum.
A strategy to stay innovative? Do you have a strategy to stay innovative? Because, I mean, accept purpose. I don't know if this is the strategy. Maybe it's all that needs. Because I'm always wondering myself, how again do I now look into the deep fine workings of transformers? Do I need to care? I don't know. Maybe I should. So you need to stay innovative. So what's the newest thing in NV centers or quantum dots or what have you? So,
I actually don't think it's a technical thing. I don't think it's staying innovative is a matter of reading papers. I think it is. I think by all means, I think that you need to be skimming through table of contents.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
I agreed. Like, it takes a lot of time,
and
of a lot of journals, right? Not only the ones that specifically match, the ones that are a bit weird. For example, the ones that. So I think that's important, but I don't think that's the key. I would say, what do you think, Thomas? I would say it's also like, don't have so many overlords to like guide you, in the sense that and overlords can be like NSF, who's pressing for quantum proposals, right? NSF has quantum proposals, so you're going to find a quantum proposal that fits the NSF call because you need money, right? The overlord can be the investor who put money in your startup and wants to see a result now, even though you're only going to be ready in 3 months. And we're never like free of the, what's the name of the puppeteer,
of the little monkey sitting next to
or the puppeteer,
or the puppeteers,
right? But if we could cut as many chords as we realize, right? What's the famous line with like puppeteers? You're only, oh my God, there's a line. You're only master of the wires that you realize that you're master. Do you know this?
No, I see what you mean, but I don't recall any specific.
Okay, if I find, can you put in the comments too?
I will put in the comments. Yes.
I have to find this.
Well, let's make this a content. The first guy who is submitting the answer gets a T-shirt or what have you.
Gets a virtual lab tour to the quantum biology.
Yeah, why not? Okay,
yes.
I take you for that.
Yes,
good.
Awesome.
So the invitation is open. Before we jump to the quantum computers, I'm gearing up the motor in soon. But I think one point I'd like to briefly check with you. A pressing problem. Let's focus maybe on healthcare, biotech.
Yeah.
Not, I mean, we could go society, but in area of, let's say, in area of our influence.
Yeah.
Is there something that you would put priority to solve near future?
Well, it's not only about spins and magnetic fields and quantum biology. It's realizing how much biology responds to electromagnetic fields in general. Right. So my flavor, I'll talk about my flavor and then I'll generalize a bit. Magnetic fields have been shown to up and down regulate how fast cells divide, how much energy is produced. What's the name? The production of cellular respiration, the production of reactive oxygen species. There's shit tons of things like ion channel functioning. So there's a lot of things that people have known, for example, that are tunable with weak magnetic fields. But that's not only that.
Yeah.
biology is electromagnetic, and people, I think, in the West fail to realize that big time. I think that people in Russia, China, and Japan, they maybe because it's the Eastern philosophy, I'm not sure why, they never the research about those things never stopped.
Yes,
the West has a big prejudice against anything electromagnetic in cells. So I think that once we start exploring how our cells are electromagnetic responsive, we might find a lot of new knobs that are being completely ignored. Sorry, Thomas, by the pharmaceutical industry.
Sure. I mean, it's by the, let's say, by the classical compound-based treatments, and I think I'm just echoing this because when I was 9 or 10, I heard from my dad all these weak things. So he was exploring into homeopathy. I mean, he's a dentist, but homeopathy, meridian treatment, so Chinese acupuncture, and all these things that deal with meridians. And in principle, I mean, what is it? If it's some kind of an energy transporter and keeping the flow in life. And apparently it worked, because otherwise it would not have survived in other cultures. So, and I think the big hope is just my big hope in the past was to bring these both valuable traditions together and then just work together.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I totally, which is, I think, part of your podcast goal, right?
Well, yes. As you mentioned.
Seriously. And I do think that people in the West are prejudiced, and that we should be slightly less dogmatic, in the same way that I wish that physicists were less dogmatic about quantumness in biology. I think that
biology.
We all should be, biology. I'm a physicist, and we're the worst. We're the worst.
Yes, that's true.
But if you ask me about what I think should be tackled, I would love that rich people, instead of going to Mars, that they would try to solve very basic diseases where things are needed, solving cholera, solving TB, right? Because again, those things don't make big bucks anymore in the usual industry.
That's true. So the wish is out to the universe. We let it figure out the details. So you never know.
Which person,
if we have 1 million listeners, they all call him and say, "We'll hear this." Just kidding. So let me start maybe the machine, and then because I have the result, but let's start the machine.
I'm so curious. Yes.
Just wait. So it was running on a machine called IBM Brisbane. It's my standard machine, but it's a real quantum computer. It did run for a few seconds in queue. It selected the index 64, which doesn't tell anything, which results in question number 65, so tension over. What is your favorite way to relax after a long life? That's a question. That's a question for you. That's the perfect question for you.
I like reading. I like running.
Okay.
I think those are, and I like listening to music while I'm running. I'm a very basic person.
It's very good. So so this is so you run with music. Okay. Good.
I run with music. I'm not a big runner. My distance is a half marathon. I have to go back to running half marathons. No. It's not impressive at all. Like I'm not like those. Like I'm not a runner like Iron Woman or something. I'm a small runner. I'm just going back to trying to get somewhere. So.
Yeah, cool. And with my idea of this podcast to make it interesting is that listeners submit questions. So I have a few, but also the guests submit questions. So now it's your chance to add another question to the pool. And then pose it.
Which one do you want?
So then pose it and then answer it. And then,
Okay.
Just go.
I go or you go?
No, you can propose a question that you would like to have, anything that you want to know. I either talk about yourself, because I didn't ask it, or have other people.
No, I want to ask people, what's the one thing that you don't understand about quantum physics that you would like to understand?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I noted this. It will be transcribed and added to the pool. It will get number 103, I guess. Okay.
Cool. Okay.
And your answer to this? I can tell you mine later.
Oh, I'm curious now. Okay. I would like to understand more deeply how materials are quantum. I'm trained in like atomic and molecular physics stuff. I'm trained in like quantum computing and quantum computing language, right? So I do well like a two-level system and like a couple of qubits, if you will.
Qubit, yay.
but I do think there's like a lot of quantumness in materials that I don't fully understand. Like, and I'm sure there are people who do. I would love to. It's like 1 degree more, 1 degree up from what we usually study in solid state physics, where we see, well, there's tunneling and stuff and electrons move around. But I'm sure that there's some quantumness there that is not super clear to me. I would like to understand quantum physics when it gets messy.
Okay, cool.
What about you?
Yeah, sure. So, and I had a quick reaction because this is something that is burning under my nails for thousands of years.
Yes.
In all my life. When I was thinking about this quantum thing, I always come down to the Born rule. So this probability distribution. So why is, if you look for it, just for everybody who has not, for everybody who has not heard about the Born rule. So this is, in quantum physics, you have this famous two-slit experiment where you have one electron or whatever particle, and it's going through, some people say through both slits at the same time if you don't observe it. So there are different physical interpretations or philosophical interpretations of it. And in the end, you see an interference pattern. And in principle, this means that whenever you repeat cross wherever on Earth and whenever you repeat it with single photons, in the end, you still get this interference, which is described by this probability distribution. And how on Earth does this work? That the one electron measured in 1812 in Mexico remembers or recalls what the other guy is doing in 2025 in, I don't know, Russia or here in
but it doesn't. It doesn't, because they don't interact.
Yeah, they don't interact, but still they produce this pattern if you map them. And I think this is so if you.
But it doesn't need to remember. It just
it doesn't
interfere. No, it doesn't need to remember. It just needs to interfere with itself, and then and then it does its probabilistic thing.
Exactly, and this is described by the Born rule, and I don't know how this works. Okay. So how should you interact between yourself? But anyhow, so that's my. If somebody has a.
So I'm curious now. How do you describe the Born rule?
How do I describe the Born rule? So for me, it's just the probability distribution. So it's this, It's this density matrix. Okay. And where does it come from? I don't know. Maybe it's just written in the book of the universe, but it's maybe not very scientific.
You know who have you talked to those quantum Bayesian people?
Yes, I would. That's the next objective. So I have not yet directly talked, but yes, Chris.
The dude from Massachusetts. What's his name? Is it him?
Yes, it's him.
He's awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
He's awesome. Good. So if you ever hear this, I will reach out to you. I think this is what brings me to the point of philosophical interpretations. I mean, there's many worlds. I'm not a very big fan of many worlds, but others are. Then you have the transactional interpretation, Copenhagen, what have you, and also the cubism. And I think this cubism stuff is quite interesting because they say,
isn't it the same guy? Okay.
So, it is. And, they just say, in principle, we can just describe what we observe with our limited senses and our expectations of this. So this is just, it's fun, but okay.
With time, I think that I've internalized those things that that I will never solve, so
Yes.
that it gives me enough CPU to be screwing up and down things in the lab.
Yeah, okay.
Otherwise, there's no CPU left for me.
Yeah, cool. So this brings us to the end. But I think what I always love, I don't want to finish the talk myself, so I give you the last word. So if you have any words that you want just to share, or go ahead.
May the quantum be with you all. Is that good?
That's it.
Is that good?
So, dear friends, thanks for listening and entangling to the Entangled Health podcast. Feel free to like it, share it, subscribe on your favorite platform, and if you are inspired, join our guest and submit your question for future guests. Join the conversation either via sending an email, following us on LinkedIn, commenting under the episode. Stay curious, stay connected, and keep exploring the unseen with Entangled Health.